Hello and welcome to A Few Minutes With. Today we're talking to Katherine Handziak, interior designer and owner of Bluemustard, a hospitality design firm in Seattle. Katherine's talking to us about restaurant lighting. Hi Katherine, why is lighting important in a restaurant?
Hi. Well, I thought about this a little bit, but I do think it's one of the major, it kind of can make a restaurant and it cues to the guest what kind of experience they're going to have. And so if it's something that has really bright lighting, it might cue this as fast casual, it's cafeteria style, it's order at the counter, that kind of thing, just a daytime restaurant. It might cue that things move a little quicker. Whereas if you have kind of some sexy candlelight mood lighting, it might cue to the guests that they're going to have a full sit-down meal with a sommelier, and it's a good place to bring a date or for a special celebration. So I think it tells people what kind of restaurant it's going to be. I think it is important because you want to look flattering on your dates and all that kind of stuff, and we all know how important lighting is. It also flatters the food. So often I think if you don't have the right lighting on food, it can feel kind of funny. You think about, those like kind of dive bars that have really dark lighting or red lighting, and that's a whole different ballpark. But I think for the most part, you want to make sure your food looks good. Um, it also depends on like the kind of day part you're open. I kind of touched on that. Um, and yeah, I would say it impacts a lot the guest's behavior and, how much time they're going to stay, how much money they're going to spend, and what their overall experiences quite a bit because you want to stay someplace that you feel like is very warm and inviting and feels like your living room rather than really harsh overhead lighting usually.
So the lighting certainly has a design aesthetic. Does it also perform a function like creating areas?
Yeah, I think with the trend currently being with semi-open or open kitchens, that is a big, area to improve upon in restaurants often because the kitchen needs to have kind of bright lighting so that the chefs can work on their food. But if it's filtered through the dining room, that can often feel like too bright for the guest. And so filtering it through, maybe some opaque windows or glass can help with that a lot, or even just changing out bulbs so they're a warmer tone in the kitchen. I think that can help a lot. And then there's obviously like different levels of lighting. So we often, find cool vintage task lights for the host stand where they have to use a computer or write stuff down, or a server station. And then a new thing you really see is a lot of table lighting. I mean, we used to always put candles on tables, and now you see a lot of lights that are battery powered or even solar powered that are there for the guests that needs to be able to see their menu better, that kind of thing.
Do you ever use it, Catherine, to define a zone, like maybe a private dining or a bar or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. So I put this picture up behind me. I've never done the virtual picture thing, but this is a banquet in a restaurant that is now Hashi Sandwiches in Fremont, Seattle. And this kind of defines this back banquet area. So the rest of the restaurant has like really lighting up above the ceiling that just kind of helps, create enough lighting and then to define that banquet area and create kind of a moment. There's not even anything really on the wall except for this burlap wallpaper is these handmade ceramic lights that make this kind of a special moment. Or we'll often drop things over the bar so that that feels kind of like the highlight in the restaurant. I think it's really fun sometimes if you have a really special table that's in the corner to drop like one light over that. You have to kind of decide where your moments are, if you're going to have a big chandelier over your bar or if you're going to have kind of sparse lighting and then pick a moment over a banquet or that kind of thing. You don't want to compete so much, but yeah, I think it can definitely define some areas.
Do you layer lighting to kind of make it feel more part of the restaurant?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think we often think about lighting and like having kind of a good like wash that's far overhead, that can be dimmable and has the right bulb that feels warm, and then dropping some pendants over key areas like banquettes and bars, and then kind of like that kind of mid-tone lighting, whether it's a lounge area that has table lights or standing lights, or every table has a candle on it or reading light, that kind of thing, and then like the task lighting. Does that kind of answer the question?
It
A bit?
does.
Yeah.
Well, the final kind of lighting I wanted to ask you about is natural light. Do you have to take that into account, and how important is that within the design of the lighting?
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky and you have a big, beautiful restaurant with huge floor to ceiling windows, then you've win the jackpot because I think then you get, the natural lighting affecting the diner. So, that beautiful dust dial sunlight and that kind of thing, or maybe it's brunch and the day's just starting. But yeah, absolutely. I think it can also act as really good signage. So if you have a window, adding some storefront lighting that when it's dark, when you drive by, you can see that lighting. It kind of calls people in like a moth.